You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Well, happy evening, folks. It's Friday. In case you've lost track of your days, if you're stuck at home, if you're sequestered, if you're going through self-quarantining, self-isolation, whether you're with somebody else or not, it's easy to lose track of time, as it is around here. But it's Friday. Believe it or not, it feels like Sunday over here, but I know it's Friday. It's still a work day. And so I hope you're doing well with your self-isolating or enforced isolating because your company shut down or you're in a company where you can't be exposed to other people and so on. I work at home, so I'm always here. So does my wife. And we're always here. And now that our kids are home every day, we're all here together and have been for about 10 days. And by the way, this is Scotty Roberts. You're listening to my show, the Intrepid radio program, right here on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. And come on over if you're listening to the show out there just in audio. Did you know you can join my YouTube channel where we're simulcasting this broadcast in video? And the best part about it, all the Intrepheads go and gather over in the live chat room there. And they're chatting right now. Come on and join the chat, add your 2 cents to the show, and enjoy yourself. Now, first thing I want to say, I slept miserably last night. For some reason, now I've always been the kind of person who I'm a night owl. I like to stay up late and get my stuff done. But as many of you know, and I recently wrote a little post about this and I read it on one of our shows this week, is that I'm also a butt crack of dawn guy. And so I wake up just before dawn, it seems, every day. And in the, most of the year, I wake up around 4 to 5 a.m. And it doesn't matter how late I've stayed up, 12, 1, 2, 3. This morning, I woke up around 2:40. Something woke me up. And so I got up and I went and did the obligatory, got to pee in the middle of the night. And almost stepped on the cat, which looks like a big black fur throw pillow laying on the floor. And I was staggering. I felt like, God, I didn't drink last night. And I just was staggering and couldn't get my wits about me because I think I was woken up out of a cold, hard sleep. And once I stood there and I did my business in the bathroom, I meandered into my office and sat down and I finished a project that I was working on for a client. And had to put another hour and a half into it. And so I did that. And then I went back and I laid down for a little bit more and trying not to wake up my wife or the whole household. And I just woke up groggy today. So I'm still groggy. I've been groggy all day. I've been dizzy all day. And that's just, I get that from time to time anyway. The older I get, the less equilibrium I have. And so if I look tired, maybe that's because I am tired. How about that? So maybe we'll put the light on dim and frosty so I can look better on camera. Not look so, you know how they did in the old TV shows and stuff like that. They would cut away to somebody and they'd have the misty look around them. So maybe we should try that one of these days. But not today. So anyway, getting off of that little rabbit trail, we were talking about character all week. We're talking about, and now, maybe we have some time to think about our character. Many times I think we get so busy with the day-to-day stuff of life, we don't think about it. It's like all the stuff when we were talking about spirituality and talking about being awake and being awake, which is, by the way, not the same thing as woke. But being awake and being aware of the fact that you're awake. and being in the now, in the moment, and living that way, and all the different things that entails when you start thinking that way. And so we've been talking about that. We've been talking about character development and how character development, your own character, takes, I think, a little bit of separating yourself apart from everybody, at least figuratively and in your mind, and doing a little self-evaluation, trying to figure out, where am I? What am I doing? What are the things I do in life? How do people perceive me? Not that, I'm a big one of saying I don't give a good rat's bahookie about what somebody thinks about the way I do things. Everybody's got their opinion, and generally the ones that are expressing negative opinions about me or their particular brand of isolated hate, it's less than a handful. So who cares? It's just a few people who think that way. I don't care. I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to have my style, and damn what everybody else thinks about it. It's kind of a damn the cannonballs and full speed ahead type of thing. So if you can be that way, that's great. But sometimes you have to go inside. You have to not just develop things in an outward view so that people see you outwardly, but you got to work on the inside stuff. Your guts, the guts of your life. And so what kind of character do you have? Have you had the ability to take time, while you have extra time now, to think about who you are and what you do, how you do it, how you're perceived by the world? Because how you're perceived by the world is sometimes how you act. And so you need to figure out, how do I act? Am I a person of character in the small things, the easy things? Am I a big person of character when times get tough? Am I a person of character when it's spontaneous and it's sprung on me? And so those are all the things I think about myself. And this is why I want to pass this stuff on to you, so you can think about this stuff as well. And when I mentioned yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, the book that I had written, The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare, which I don't have a copy of sitting right here. But when I wrote that character, and I said I wrote character traits into him that I wanted to see in myself, they were honor and nobility, nobility of character, integrity. All of these things is what I wanted him to be, because those were the things I was aspiring to be in my own life. And some of that was me, and some of it was me aspiring to be the things I wanted to be. And I remember there were several times in the book where I've got the character stopping. He said something, and it says, and Tam, he stopped himself and thought, that is not the most noble path to take, the most character-laden path. And he would step back and say, look, I offer my apologies for the way I acted. That wasn't right. That was immediate. Let me hear you out. And, things like that. I would write about those things. So this is what I mean by self-examination. Sometimes, and now that it's getting a little warmer out, it's gorgeous outside here. All day it was 60 degrees, which is very nice, after the winter. It's early spring, and at 60 degrees at the end of summer, you're going to put on a parka. And you're going to feel like you're freezing. 60 degrees after winter up here in the frozen tundra is awfully nice. And so you got a nice day, go sit outside. If the ground is a little wet still from melting snow, or if you're in warmer climes, go sit on the ground underneath a tree. Take off your shoes. Get your feet into the soil or the grass or whatever is there. Soak it up and meditate a little bit. Nothing magical about meditating until you actually do it. It's the act of doing it that is magical. So sit there and examine self as well. And so this is what I'm asking of you, because I ask it of me. And I think this is valuable for us all to do. And so in doing this, in talking about character, I ran across a lot of information about marriages and how we handle ourselves with character within a relationship. We don't always do it. And how do you do that? How do you accomplish that? What are the things, perhaps in your own marriage, Now, I don't want anybody to blurt out, my marriage is really good because we work on these things all the time. If you do, that's great. But how do you get there? It's by having gone through the process of self-examination, marital examination, what you're doing with your own character. And I had looked up this stuff about the roots of marital conflicts. And some of the problems stem from what we believe about marriage and about our spouse. And I was going to talk about this when we were talking about codependency within a marriage and narcissism within a marriage. And I think right now it's probably a good thing to go ahead and talk about it when we're talking about personal character. And so there are countless ways in a marriage that couples can run into problems, and many of these should be easy to fix if we could just identify the real source of the problem. Why am I having problems with my wife? Why are you having problems with your husband? Why is there nitpicking? Why is there stuff that goes on? Why are there problems in general? And you can look at this and it all really comes down to character. It's what you bring to the table. Now, sometimes what we bring to the table is our baggage as well. So many of us, this should be an easy fix if we could just identify the real source of the problem. Yet that's the rub as well. Determining what to focus on isn't easy because problems aren't always what they appear to be. Very often, one is linked to or the cause of another person, or another problem. A couple might fight about sex because a wife feels she isn't respected, which inhibits her sexual desire. And additionally, an apparently simple problem can actually be the result of much larger issues. A husband doesn't take out the trash when asked, and that makes his wife pissy. And such a problem should be an easy one to overcome and resolve. Just take out the trash, and the problem's gone, right? That's all that's involved. Just do what you're told, husband. And, listen to your wife. However, it's usually not that simple. Emotions are at the heart of virtually all marital problems, even those that appear to have no emotional underpinnings to them. There might be underlying reasons why he doesn't take out the trash. Maybe he thinks his wife is too controlling, and not taking out the trash when asked is a way of expressing his independence. You know what? I've done that. I have a problem with controlling people. And sometimes my wife, I don't need to be asked to take out the trash. I don't need to be asked to wash the dishes, or wipe the kitchen counters down, or mop the kitchen floor, or clean a toilet. Nobody needs to ask me those things. I'm a grown-up and I wear my big boy pants. I know how to keep a house clean. But sometimes it will hit my wife to tell me to get something done before I actually do it. I'm not saying I'm slacking. I'm saying I'm just on a different time schedule than hers. You left the mayonnaise out without the lid on it. You want to put that away? I'm like, hey, I was going to put it away. I had it on my schedule of things to do in my mind. But by all means, if you see it and it bothers you that it's still out, go ahead and put it away. I give you that freedom. Now, that doesn't always have a happy ending. And either way you want to look at it. So there are things, when I get demanded to do something, there are times where, now this is a little bit of me personally. Maybe you can relate to this. You might have your own things. My wife is so used to telling the kids what to do, and I am too. But she'll tell them what to do, and sometimes in the flurry she'll look at me and she'll say, and you get that office floor vacuumed, and you go over and shake out those rugs in the kitchen. And I'm like, I do requests, I don't do orders. And there are times where we've gotten into little mini conflicts over it, and I'll say, you know what? You can ask me to do something, but if you demand me to do something, or treat me like one of the kids, or order me around, you know what? I'll go do something else instead. Now, that's a conflict that arises. That's from my baggage. That's from me. I don't like being controlled or anything that looks like it. We all know the source of that stuff. I've talked about that before. So we all have our things, is the point I'm making. Maybe a guy thinks his wife is being too controlling. Now, she might just be running the household. she's doing the things, you're working, you're doing something, she's running the house. And she's telling you she's the boss. And sometimes you got to put yourself under the authority of a boss. But in a couple, in a relationship, there shouldn't be somebody who has authority over the other. You are joint authorities. You work together. But we're going to get to that later. So the wife might view the husband's attitude when he might think she's being controlling, and he might think regarding her request as a sign that he doesn't want to help or support her. Nothing deeper than that. Nothing controlling. He doesn't want to help. He doesn't want to give me support. And acknowledging the role of emotions is an important first step to improving many relationships. And from there, it makes sense that to solve any problem requires that we deal with the emotions that are behind the problem. And now, if you notice, even in current psychology, we draw on stereotypes or role stereotypes. That the wife is taking care of the house, the husband's working, I need your help around the house. You know what? That's okay. I don't want to get lost in the melee of trying to figure out who's playing what role or whatever. Everybody helps out. I even tell my kids, this is your house. Take pride in your house. If it's messy, by all means, don't step over it. Bend over and pick it up on your way. Bit by bit. And I said, maintenance. We'll keep our house looking nice if we don't ignore the fact that this is everybody's house and we all contribute. Blah, blah, blah. So how do we deal with our emotional underpinnings that we bring to the table when we have conflicts with our spouses? All that emotional junk that's underneath that formulates the way we think or perceive things. And it would seem that all we have to do is control or change them. Now, that's easy. I'll just change it, right? And the husband should just take out the trash and stop feeling angry or resentful about it. And the wife should stop getting angry when he doesn't do it immediately. However, that's not likely to work because the emotions we experience might have something else beneath them, and trying to change them directly won't get at the heart of the issue. And by all means, folks, I have tried that. I've tried to just, I don't need to say anything. Even though I feel controlled and I feel ordered, and I don't like this, I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and I'll try to keep the peace. And I'll go take out the trash or do whatever. And part of it is we're independent people. Don't tell me what to do. You can ask me if I'll do something, and I'll gladly do it. But damn it, don't tell me what to do. I'm not your kid. That's come out of my mouth more times. And so we tend to think that all our emotions are linked to a specific situation or an event, meaning that how we feel is a direct result of what we're seeing or we're hearing. It's boom. It's cause and effect. It's response to stimuli. However, our emotions can be affected by the ideas that we hold in our heads, the things that are already there. And in other words, our emotions and the thoughts and the behaviors that spring from these emotions are the product of what we believe. The idea that our belief system are the triggers of the emotion is a fundamental principle behind rational emotive behavior therapy. That's REBT, Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. And it was developed by psychologist Albert Ellis, who argued that what we believe comes in between, and what we see or hear and determine how we react is emotional. It's not the task of taking out the trash that causes the emotional reaction, but rather what taking out the trash signifies, or what the order to take out the trash signifies. So how we interpret an event causes us to react in certain ways, and our interpretation is determined by our beliefs. So according to Dr. Ellis, who came up with this REMT thing, this Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, it's not the events of the world that cause our emotions, but rather the significance we attach to those events. Now that seems really simple to say that, doesn't it? And it is. It really is that simple. It's not the events of the world that cause our emotions. It's the significance we attach to those events that causes emotions. Because you know what? You might ask me to take out the trash. Let's say we're married and we're living together, and you ask me to take out the trash, and I might think you're a controlling biatch. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do my own thing. I'll go take out the trash when I'm ready. And you might have another guy who says, sure, I'll take out the trash. Thanks for reminding me. And so it's what we attach to the event. In marriage, our beliefs, and let me put the caveat in here, nowadays, not just marriage, it's in relationships. It's in friendships, in business relationships. It's all across the board, but we're kind of focusing on marriage tonight. So in marriage, our beliefs serve as the rules we follow for interacting with our partner. They are the things that we hold to be true about what marriage should be like, and how our partner should think and act. And they make their presence felt in virtually all aspects of our relationship. And they're the basis for our wants, our needs, and our expectations. Let me take a quick drink. It should be water I'm drinking. I'm drinking a Mountain Dew. Albeit a sugar-free Mountain Dew. So there you go. Diabetes, you know. I have to watch that stuff. And of course they say diet pop is worse for you. I don't drink enough of it for it to be worse for me. I drink a can a day, maybe, on average. So, when our wants, our needs, or our expectations are satisfied, we feel really good about our relationship with the other person. However, when they're not met, they become a source of contention. Unmet needs, wants, and expectations are really what makes us unhappy in our marriage. It isn't that somebody refused to take out the trash, or somebody, I don't know, let's get down and dirty. Somebody doesn't want to have sex on your schedule. That's not, our wants and needs not being met is what causes contention in a relationship. What can cause unhappiness if it's unchecked. And so it truly doesn't matter who takes out the trash when it comes down to it. However, it does matter what we believe our partner is communicating to us when they don't. So some beliefs are perfectly acceptable, but some aren't. Acceptable beliefs are rational, and when they are what's beneath our needs, wants, and expectations, we have a right to have them fulfilled. We have a right to be supported by our partner or treated with affection and respect. However, some beliefs are irrational. And it's irrational to believe that our partner should love us no matter what we do or how we act or how we treat them. Some people do actually believe that, and they call it unconditional love. So some of the problems couples face, especially those that come up over and over and over and over again, might stem from some irrational beliefs held by one or both partners. And you know what? We're out of time in this first segment. We got to go out to break, so we'll hit this right where I left off when we come back. Sit tight, 2 minutes or so, maybe less, and we'll be right back. All right, gang, thanks for hanging on during that break. We're back. I'm Scotty Roberts. This is my radio program, the Intrepid radio program, right here on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. And come on over to this easy for me to say, right? How about that? Come on over to the simulcast in video with the live chat room over on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Mr. Scotty Roberts. And by the way, because I haven't mentioned it for a long, long time, if you want a tarot reading, which is something I do on Sundays, and this is Friday, so on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Leftern, when you come on in, we do tarot readings at no cost to you, usually a 3-card reading. You can see how it's done, what I offer. If you're looking for something like that, come on over to my main page, scottallenroberts.com, my website. Click on the tarot link. There's 2 different links there for a 5-card reading and a 10-card reading. 10 cards are pretty revealing. If you've seen anything like what the 3-card readings are like, you know what it would do. And so come on over. If you want a reading, go sign up. I've had several people that have come to me and say, I don't have any cash today. I said, let's just do the reading. If you're calling me, you're contacting me, you need it, let's get it done, and you pay me when you got it. And really what you're paying for is my time and my 35 years of experience doing this, approximately 35. And so go over, sign up for a reading, pay for it via PayPal, and you can get on the schedule that way, and we'll get you worked in. So you want a tarot reading? Give me a shot. And after that, let's move back in. That's my own personal ad. So let's move back into the program. We left off. We're talking about marital conflicts, character in marriage, and so on. We left off by saying some of the problems that couples face, especially those that come up over and over and over and over again, might stem from irrational beliefs that are held by one or both partners. Because it's not the things in the relationship that cause emotion, it's the buried stuff that causes the emotional response about the thing. So needs, wants, and expectations are based on irrational beliefs, and they can't be satisfied. Well, at least the ones that are based on irrational beliefs. Those can't be satisfied. And so they can cause a lot of negative emotions, such as anger or frustration. That's because we keep waiting to get what we want, and it doesn't happen. And these negative emotions also linger. They can infect other aspects of our relationships. And arguments that stem from irrational beliefs rarely find their way to solutions. So how do you get past the irrational? How do you identify what's the irrational? What do you have when you have the problem of one person in the relationship sees that the other person's being irrational, but that person doesn't see it as irrationality? So how do you work through those things? And while we'll never get rid of all our irrational beliefs, we can at least identify the ones that are particularly detrimental to our relationships. And once they're identified, we have that ability then to fight against their damaging effects by replacing them with more rational beliefs. Remember, they say, like in alcoholism, they say admitting you have a problem is the first step to resolving that problem or getting a handle on it. It's the same thing with emotions in a relationship. The first step to resolving emotional things that are beneath the surface is understanding that they exist. Boom, that's almost all you got to do. Okay, I understand, I got them. And then you can start working on those things. A husband can realize that the trash really does have to get outside and into the bin. And doing so at the request of his wife isn't manipulative all by itself, but rather supportive of her. A wife that can acknowledge that if he doesn't do it immediately, it is not indicative of how he feels about her or the marriage. Might be something else going on there. So these realizations of where emotions come from can help start it to resolve the problem right away. Self-reflection, self-monitoring are the key tools for changing irrational beliefs. What did I say at the beginning? Self-evaluation, meditation, monitor yourself, watch yourself, look inward, figure it out, I've said at other times over the last week. Only through exploring your own thoughts and asking yourself questions can you gain the insight that you're going to need to identify and change irrational beliefs. Think about the problems you've faced with your partner and how you've reacted to those situations. Think about the emotions you experienced. Try to discover the underlying thoughts and beliefs that triggered those feelings in yourself. You know, when I do that, sometimes I look at myself and go, man, I reacted pretty dumb. And I got to go back and, you got to, I was being, okay, I'm working on it. So once you're able to replace an irrational belief with a more rational one, you're going to find that your emotional reaction is going to be different. You won't be as angry. You won't be as upset. You won't be as frustrated. And you won't be emotionally agitated, possibly for hours or days. So instead, you'll be more likely to feel better about yourself, less disenchanted with your spouse. You'll also find that because you're not as emotionally rattled, you'll have an easier time communicating with your partner. Especially about your issues and things you need to talk about and get out in the open. Who else to talk to but the person that's supposed to be your best friend in the world? So when you find that you're experiencing overly negative emotions over something your partner has said or done, challenge yourself. Folks, challenge yourself. Think about why you feel the way you do. Then what's really at the heart of why you're so upset about something? And then look to make adjustments to the beliefs that are beneath your reaction. And then confront your partner about what's really upsetting you. So think about how revolutionized we could be in not just our marriages, but in business, in friendships, and relationships of all kind. If we all used a little common sense, we all stopped and lived in the moment, in the now, instead of the things from the past that have governed the way we act or where we think they're going to be taking us in the future, we live in the now. We become awake. We become separated from the unawareness. And we start becoming aware. And then be aware that you're awake. And then focus on the now, because there is nothing but the now, remember? And the things that affect us back there, I think back to the first time I ever saw The Lion King back 25 years ago when it came out as an animated cartoon. And if you remember that movie, and I took my three, they were either 3 or 4, my twin daughters, Abby and Bryn. I took them out to see that movie. And I remember I was reclined way back in the chair in the movie theater. This is back when, 25 years ago, yeah, they did have reclining chairs in the movie theaters. And they were little, and I had one of them laying on this shoulder, one on this shoulder, on their backs, and the big popcorn tub in between us. And we're all watching the movie in the movie theater. And I remember I'm crying through parts of that movie. I mean, that's just the way I'm made up. And I remember the scene where Simba, he's grown up now, and he encounters Rafiki, the baboon, the magician, the witch doctor. And they're talking about his past in a brief interchange. And he says, yeah, but I can't go back because of my past. And he says, Rafiki says, yes, the past will hurt. And then he cracks him on the head with his walking staff. And Simba's like, hey, why'd you do that? He goes, why does it matter that you got hurt? He says, that is now in the past. Why should the past matter anymore? And he was making his point. And he says, yes, the past will hurt you. But now you're in your present. You're in the now, so move on. Boy, the Zen, the clear thinking, what do you want to call it? Mysticism, clear thinking of The Lion King is amazing. Why should that bother you? It was in the past. And so, because the past hurts us. So once you're able to replace an irrational belief that you have discovered is based on something from your past, the past will hurt. But you can move beyond that. And you're going to find that your emotional reactions are going to be different. You won't be as angry, upset, or frustrated. And think about why you feel the way you do. What's really at the heart of why you're so upset? Then look to make adjustments to the beliefs that are beneath your reaction, and then confront your partner about what is really upsetting you. Hey, honey, you know about the trash thing? It's not about the trash. That's not why I bristled, let me tell you. And so we're not saying you can't become annoyed. Or I'm not saying you shouldn't confront your partner when you're annoyed. What I am saying is that demanding or expecting them to be a certain way can get you into trouble. Take your expectations, your dirty paws off your spouse's emotions. Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape, or expectation. That's what expectations are. We're saying that demanding or expecting them to be a certain way can get you into trouble. So get rid of your expectations. When we demand something, we're not prepared for not getting what we want. And this lack of preparedness can only lead us to feel angry and frustrated. So, of course, there's no such thing as a cure-all. This approach won't work on every problem in your marriage. Nevertheless, it can be helpful for many problems, and its applicability is wide-ranging. As its greatest benefit, it can reduce the intensity of emotional reactions so arguments are less likely to escalate or get blown out of proportion. And it's going to be easier to work your way toward solutions because you don't feel so damn hostile. This is a critical point because many marital problems result from how strongly we react to some wrongdoing or what we perceive to be wrongdoing. When we're emotionally overcharged, we create an environment of reciprocity. I gotta get back at you for what you just said to me. And ineffective communication, residual negative feelings, how well we handle the things we don't like in our partner often determines the path of our marriages and our futures together. So you get that? How we handle the things we don't like in our partner, that other person, often determines the path of our marriage. So that's something to think about when it comes to, and this is all about the whole character development within your marriage. Did you know they say money is one of the leading causes for divorce. Do you know why what is another great cause for divorce within a marriage? A separation of friendships. It's continually finding fault in each other. That's the biggest one right there. And I want to segue from what we were just talking about how we deal with the way we deal with our emotions that are beneath that interpret the events in our marriage or in our relationships of any kind. How nitpicking your spouse can damage your marriage and may perhaps even lead to divorce. When you live in the intimacy of marriage, personality flaws, bad habits of your spouse can get revealed. Because, we lived alone before that. We were out on our own. We did our own thing. In my case, I'm 20 years older than my wife. And now we're going on almost 13 years of marriage, 15 years of being together. And And I lived a lot before I met my wife. And so my wife came into this being her first marriage, dealing with marriage the way most people who are first getting married in their 20s deal with things. And I'd already been there. And it took a lot in me to not say, hey, been there, been around that block already. And so here, let me teach you something. So when you're in the intimacy of marriage, personality flaws or bad habits of your spouse can get revealed on either side of that coin I just even used as an illustration. So often, much of our annoyance is built on those things. And it's something couples have to deal with when they enter a relationship, or they get married, because it can lead to nitpicking. And though this kind of fussy fault finding usually involves petty or inconsequential issues or tasks, if done on a regular basis, the ramifications in your union can be awfully damn serious, ultimately tearing away at the bond of your relationship. Let me give you just an example. Do you think leaving a wrapper, you cook, hypothetically, corn, you ripped it open, you dumped the corn in the pot, threw the wrapper on the counter, you heated up the corn, and you moved on. But there sat that wrapper. Can that wrapper destroy a marriage? Not that wrapper alone, but what if the other person comes along and says, hey, could you please not leave these wrappers on the counter? Just throw them out. The garbage is 2 feet away. If you do that and the other person continually ignores that and keeps doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, that's something where there is no respect for what the other person has to say, no matter what the underlying emotional issue might be to being told to pick up your wrappers. And so a wrapper can actually lead to a dissolution of marriage if it's not put in check. These are the kinds of trite things that happen in marriages that can ultimately tear away at your bond and destroy your relationship. But now there's negative effects of nitpicking as well. What's nitpicking? You know what that is? You ever do that to your spouse? Does your spouse ever do it to you? Your friends, your boss, nitpicking. What are the things that erode relationship when it comes to nitpicking? A relationship like a marriage brings together two people who most likely have different habits and different personalities. It can be easy to pick apart aspects of your partner that you dislike or you don't agree with. However, this type of criticism does nothing to help the foundation of your relationship. When you point out what another has or hasn't done, or how your spouse said or did something wrong, you might be belittling, embarrassing, and demeaning your partner without even intending to do that. How come you leave your clothes all around all the time? You know, when I was growing up, I didn't leave my clothes laying around. And, you know, I like my house to be picked up, and so I don't leave clothes around. Why do you bitch about the house being messy and you don't pick up your own stuff? That kind of thing. You can see how that thing builds. Ever been there? Does that sound familiar to you? Maybe not those exact words or tones of voice. You ever done that? So when you point out what one another has or hasn't done, or how your spouse said or did something wrong, you might be belittling, embarrassing, and demeaning them. You're also saying that you want the other person to change. You don't have to go, now I'm going to say something because I want you to change. We don't always do that. It's just, I'm saying it, therefore you better put some importance to it if you cared about me and what I have to say. And in essence, you're telling them they aren't good enough. I heard that from Rainey many times because I'd say, oh my God, could you shut the toilet when you're done? I'm just picking something out of the air. And she's, yeah, I'll shut the toilet. And 2 years later, oh my God, you still don't ever shut the toilet. A closed toilet is a friendly toilet. I would say stupid shit like that. And after a while, my wife said, "Do you think I'm not good enough?" And so those are some of the things that lead to breaking down each other's spirit. And sometimes, why do we feel we need to do that? We just do it. So essentially, nitpicking is a sign that you don't fully respect your mate. There's no respect there, or there's not as much as there should be. So even if this isn't your intention, even if you don't know you're doing it, it can be received that way. And so though it can start small, especially at first, it can be a red flag in your relationship. And if you continue to nitpick at your spouse, a growing resentment can create a wall between the two of you. Now, do you have to learn to live with it? There's a fellow named John Gottman. He's PhD, founder of an organization that bases relationship advice on research. He notes in his own book, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, that 69% of relationship problems consist of unsolvable issues. Now, these include little things about your partner that rub you the wrong way and lead to nitpicking, and there's no way to ever get to the bottom of them or change them. So all long-term relationships have issues that involve personality traits or temperamental qualities and can cause perpetual conflict. These unsolvable problems are things you simply need to learn to live with. You gotta learn to live with this stuff. Sure, people can make changes, and marriage is about adapting to a life together. Okay, I'll put the toilet paper roll on so it rolls out instead of rolls in. Got it. I'm on it. I'm all about you, babe. That's a natural part of it. You adapt to each other. However, if the little things cause conflict, how can the two of you handle the real conflict or the serious issues that are going to arise in your relationship? They happen to everybody. Being overly critical or laying blame on the small stuff can lead to bigger issues and even to divorce, the dissolution of that marriage over a candy wrapper or a corn package. So instead of nitpicking, rather than nitpick your spouse, there's a number of other things you can do. Many of these are seemingly small, but the impact on your relationship can be enormous and have long-living great effects. And you'll both be happier in the long run if you just learn to deal with each other's quirks about quarreling. Something that happens with Rainey and I every now and then, sometimes we fight. Man, my wife's a street fighter. And she's like, I'll bash out your headlights. And she will. And so my wife can fight with the best of them. But sometimes what we have found that one of the things for us that breaks down the fight is to use humor. We could be in the thick of something, and sometimes I'm pissed, and my wife will crack a joke of some kind, or about something that's going on in the house, and we both laugh. Sometimes it's not as effective. I'm like, God damn it, I want to be angry. And I do the same thing. She does the same to me. And so that's something you can find things that you both can relate to for ways that can break down the anger, the frustration, the whatever. First and foremost, though, the most important thing you can do is be nice. Doesn't that seem so stupidly simple? Be nice. When you're arguing, be nice. When you feel like picking out a flaw, turn your own thinking around to simply be kind and to show respect. A compliment can be far more helpful. It's so easy to look at our kids sometimes, and you almost want to say, "Are you stupid?" But you can't use that language with kids, and you gotta be nice. Because it's like, oh my God, if you do that thing again, I'm going to have you lobotomized. I told that to my son once. I said, son, I think I'm going to have you lobotomized. I think that will help a great deal. What's that? Never mind. And so, we sometimes will blurt out things we shouldn't either. So you can also do your best to be supportive of your spouse. Take the time to listen about your partner's day. This is rudimentary stuff, folks, but listen to their day. Listen to their feelings, their hobbies, whatever they want to talk about. It's another way that you can continue to get to know one another even deeper, better, or try to see your spouse's perspective on the issues. Ask yourself if you're expecting perfection. If so, no one's going to be able to meet your expectations, and you're always, always, always going to be disappointed. And darn it, if I'm not out of time, I got all this stuff lined up to talk about, and I think I'm never going to get through I'm going to get through all that too soon. And I'm going to run out of information for the show, and I'm just going to start tap dancing. But I'm not even through a third of the information I've got in front of me for tonight. So if you can be patient on this topic, I think we'll try to pick this up next week. I think this is important stuff for all of us. Yeah, I want to get into spirituality again. I want to get into mysterious stuff and UFOs and ghost stories and all that. Maybe we'll break up some of this with that next week. But for the time being, I'm planning on just picking this up where we left off. And now, also reminder, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Central Time for It's Sunday. Come on over, and it's much more informal, and we'll chat a bit, do some readings. So folks, have a great weekend, and we'll see you again here, if not Sunday morning, next Monday evening. Love you all. Have a good night.